Let's bring in now media executive Tom Rogers for reactions, CNBC contributor. He is a senior advisor to Versant, which, as we noted, will soon become CNBC's and others' parent company. Tom, welcome. Listen, you've been on Capitol Hill during times of regulatory changes, and during your pre-interview, because we call a lot of guests and sort of get their views, you took issue with that interpretation or his interpretation of the public interest standard. What does that mean, and what does it mean to you?
Well, Brian, first let me say that my views are my views and expressly not those of Versant. I do have a clear view of the public interest standard because I happen to be on Capitol Hill as counsel to the Telecommunications Committee when much of the public interest standard issues were debated. And what ended up happening was the fairness doctrine, which required broadcasters to air both sides of controversial issues, was repealed by the FCC. There was an attempt by Congress to reinstate it, but President Reagan vetoed it. And local broadcast stations affiliated with the networks throughout the country were the ones most active trying to get rid of that rule. And then later, the derivative rules, the so-called personal attack rules, which if a group or person was attacked in a wrongful way, gave a right to have airtime to respond, and the so-called political editorial rules. All those were repealed. And it was very much a function of not holding any one set of comments as potentially creating violations of the public interest standard. Because if you violate that public interest standard, it can lead to license revocation, which is capital punishment for local stations. And so really individual words or comments were divorced from the public interest standard. The only comments now that you can really be held liable for as individual comments are the 7 dirty words. Of course, Dan and Tim and Guy have never, ever voiced those words.
Not even in their personal lives, Tom. But let me ask you this, and again, you can choose to answer or not. I understand you're a senior advisor to Versant. Jimmy Kimmel, people are coming out on all sides. Some are saying it's because of the Nexstar-Tegna deal. Nexstar is trying to buy Tegna. People have never heard of them. They own 200-plus local TV, or a lot of local TV stations, ABC affiliates included. Some people say this is about that. Others say this might be because of the decline of late-night TV. I think Greg Gutfeld actually has the highest ratings of anybody, to be perfectly blunt. Tom, what do you think or maybe this is about what he said about Charlie Kirk. What do you think?
Well, first, my personal view is that Charlie Kirk stood for open debate, no matter how distasteful views were on either side. And I think in the name of Charlie Kirk, trying to silence voices is not necessarily what he and his cause stood for. But that aside, there's nothing new about FCC chairmen taking issue with content that are aired by networks. That's been going on for a long time, from children's television issues on. It is somewhat new to say that individual comments rise to the level of license revocation. And that seemed to be where this was possibly going, and transfer of license or a renewal of license are huge issues. And if you're a CEO of a public company trying to grow your public company and you need to merge to create growth and synergies, and the people that have to pass on license transfers say that they're going to take a look at your license if you continue to air a program, that's going to cause some people, I think, to say, geez, we have to protect shareholder value here and make sure we don't end up in a license revocation proceeding.
And we'll